For many, Trials of Mana will be the first time players will get to enjoy the third entry in the Mana series, as the original Trials was never released outside of Japan until last year's collection of Mana. The team over at Zine had a hard task at hand. Updating the 15-year-old game to fit into modern times would prove difficult to any studio. How well did they transition the title into 3D, or were they better off leaving this game in the past? Trials of Mana, like the rest of the core Mana games, is an action role-playing game. Players control 3 of the 6 protagonists, with each character having a different style to differentiate them from one another. Some specialize in support, while others specialize in debuffing enemies, and so on. You pick your 3 characters at the beginning of the game, and while it may not seem like too important of a choice, the character you choose as the main character determines who your final boss will be, while the other 2 dictate which areas in the world will be available for you to explore and which ones will be shut off. The chosen players navigate the world and fight enemies in real-time combat. All characters share the same basic combos, which consist of light and heavy melee attacks. Where characters begin to differentiate is in their special moves. Though it takes some time for the special moves to unlock, as they are only obtained by getting access to classes, they add a distinct flair to the battles. Experimenting with the various skills made combat quite enjoyable, and whenever it would begin to feel a bit tedious, simply changing the character's skills or which character was controlled was enough to get invested in the combat once again. New to the game is the addition of an ability system. As you level up your character, you'll get training points to use to level up the stats of your character. Leveling up specific stats will unlock skills or abilities. Abilities are locked to certain classes, but provide a myriad of bonuses, such as status time getting reduced or extra attack power and health. The leveling system is one that allows players to build their characters in whatever way they want. And if you aren't satisfied with the way a character turned out, you can always reset the training points by visiting a fortune teller in one of the major cities, though you do have to pay a price. The plot of Trials of Mana remains unchanged from its 1995 counterpart. Though each character begins their journey in a different part of the world, they are soon forced to flee from their respective homeland by their respective villain, having to seek the Priest of Light in the holy city of Wendell to gain guidance on how to deal on the events that have befallen them. However, before the player reaches the city, they encounter a fairy from the Sanctuary of Mana. Exhausted from her journey, she chooses the chosen main character to be her host and tells him to go to Wendell, where upon meeting the Priest of Light, players learn that the Mana Tree is dying, and that the Sanctuary is in danger, and it is up to them to restore life to the Mana Tree, with the power of the elemental spirits hidden within each Mana Stone. The story does a serviceable job explaining each character's motivations and why they accept the journey, and because each character has unique story elements, the game lends itself to replayability without feeling too much of a slog. Though each story does end in the same manner, it doesn't take away from the uniqueness that a secondary playthrough with a second character would provide. After the main game is over, an epilogue chapter is unlocked in which players can unlock new classes. Once the epilogue is beaten, players can begin a New Game Plus file, which carries over their character level, common items, and some collectibles. Visually, Trials of Mana has a style more akin to that of Dragon Quest XI as opposed to the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Its cartoonish style has its charm and fits the tone of the game's narrative, but the musical score is where Trials of Mana really shines. The remixes to the original compositions are absolutely brilliant, the battle themes get the blood flowing, the emotional themes hit right. Composer Hiroki Kikuta is able to capture the magic that he is known for with this killer soundtrack. Trials of Mana unfortunately has many bumps in the road that hamper the experience. The camera during battles can be a major distraction, as the character's movements often leave camera placing in awkward positions. Many times the camera serves as a hindrance, as potential enemies and weak points can be blocked out. While having the camera settings be at maximum zoomed out does alleviate some of the issues, they are still there. The game's pacing is a bit uneven, and oftentimes the backtracking feels like a slog, especially when your modes of transportation are very limited at the beginning of the game. The English dub of the game is, to put it bluntly, not up to par with the standards of other JRPGs, as many performances feel wooden, and the voice direction with certain characters is puzzling and just outright bad. Trials of Mana is a solid RPG. Though it is not quite up to the standards of other remakes, it is still an enjoyable ride. A solid combat system and killer score with serviceable plot, which is faithful to the original, makes this worth the time investment. Its biggest strength is its replayability with the unique story branches each character has. Though some share the same end boss, each character's journey offers something new. If you can get past the English voice acting, or just change the language in general, and mildly infuriating camera, Trials of Mana is a definite must-play for JRPG enthusiasts.